says, I'm looking to nature for my inspiration, letting the natural produce speak. There's so much elegance and beauty. To me, it's about the organic nature of the food and letting the flavours and textures speak for themselves.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Look, I think it's been an evolving sort of thing.
Yeah.
I started growing veggies in my backyard about 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And it sort of, that whole experience really changed the way I looked at my food and how I was producing food. You know, before then I was all about sort of texture and flavours and, you know, sort of making the visual quite streamlined, and then through growing things I realised just how much diversity there is out there, and there's you know 20 or 30 different types of radishes that you can grow, and they all have different flavours and shapes and sizes. Yet in the marketplace we get one, you know, and it's overgrown and pretty awful. So, you know, it's things like that. And then, you know, even taking radishes for example, I mean, they actually have, you know, beautiful flowers which come out after they've grown, and those flowers themselves taste fantastic. They taste a bit like a radish, beautiful visual. And then a step further from the flower is the radish pods, which are actually the seed pods, and they also taste fantastic and are a really unusual shape. You can blanch them, use them as a garnish in a dish. So, you know, looking at what I was growing in the garden sort of made me sort of realise how much great produce there was out there that we don't actually get to see.
Yeah.
So a few years ago.
And when you've got a raw ingredient, how do you take it to the next level?
Yeah, well look, before I would probably maybe work the dish a little bit more and look for clean lines, where now I'm sort of happy to sort of let things sort of be a little bit more natural. Certainly if I'm garnishing things with herbs and flowers, you know, there's an instant sort of recognition with nature there. But just in little things, like, you know, nature isn't so precise and exact, and you know, and you know, and it's in that way a slightly more organic, I guess, approach to cooking and to presentation, especially, is what's come up in the last few years. And that quote was just really something that I felt I really needed to have maybe a bit of a mission statement as perhaps of what my cuisine's about, and really I felt that sort of summed it up really.
I think it does.
Yeah, you know, certainly haven't ever been compared with an athlete before, but you know, I know what you mean. Look, it's great. I feel very proud that, you know, I mean, we're actually listed as the #1 placed restaurant on that list in Australasia now. So it's yeah, it was a great honour, and you know, and I do feel proud as an Australian to, you know, for the rest of the world to acknowledge what we're doing here in Australia, and to see the great cuisine that's coming out of places like Sydney and Melbourne, and you know, it's and all over Australia really. I mean, we have some of the most innovative and sort of chefs really, and I also think we have a great dining public that are willing to, because we have this great multicultural society and we've been exposed to so many different flavours from all different parts of the world. Australians have a really open mind when it comes to eating and food, and you know, they're not so conservative perhaps as some of the Europeans are, that have a really strong tradition of food. Oh no, you can't serve that with that, or no, that's not how you make that, or you know, the Italians will argue, you know, about a recipe and there's 100 different ways of doing it, and they're all slightly different, and they all think theirs is the only option or the best way to produce this particular dish, which in Australia that doesn't exist. We have a much more free sort of feeling about food, so that's allowed us to do more as chefs, I believe, and that's why I think we have some of the most innovative food in the world.
Okay, interesting.
Fantastic kitchen team, and without every member of my kitchen team working at their very best every day, I wouldn't be able to produce the sort of food that we produce here at Key. So it is very much a team effort. I mean, I'm the creative force behind the food. They're sort of my ideas, and you know, I experiment with the flavours and come up with the dishes. So you know, in that sense, yes, it is coming from me and my idea of, you know, where the cuisine's at. But without, you know, all the guys who work here, all the waiters on the floor being enthusiastic about the food, back of house, you know, dealing with all the other issues, we wouldn't be able to do what we do every day in a restaurant environment. So it is definitely a team effort. And you know, this industry is fantastic. There's never a day that you don't make a new discovery of some sort. You know, it might be small, but there's so many things to. Food is such a huge subject that you're learning all the time, myself as well. And I think that's the key to it. Really, is just to keep things moving, keep developing ideas. Really, it is limitless. So it's. In the kitchen, you know, the chef, we get lots of chefs come and apply for jobs, and we get lots of people doing trials, and really what I want to see initially is a real love and passion for food. So I think a lot of comes down to recruitment, finding the right people, and also I think imparting excitement for food. You know, I certainly don't run my kitchen by sort of yelling and screaming at everyone. It's not very productive. I want to employ people that want to be here and want to be passionate, that love what they do. And I think that my challenge is